morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very exciting segment today on the fourth day of the fourth month of 2023. Yes, 4th of April. Well, this month is already plodding along, and there's just so much happening out there. A Liberal Party is likely to be in damage control mode, but also they would like to have some changes on the voice matter.
Morning.
Having been humiliated in a once-in-a-century by-election result at the weekend, Peter Dutton being urged to change gear.
To reassess their position and to make a contribution, be constructive.
The PM might have to wait a bit longer.
Labor is messing this up, and I'm so sad about that.
Julian Leeser has long supported a voice to Parliament, but the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians doesn't back Labor's proposal.
Why would you want to risk the social and racial harmony of the country, the reconciliation process, by putting a referendum whose success was not guaranteed?
I say that you're guaranteed to not advance it if you don't put.
The opposition claims the current wording, if inserted in the Constitution, could bog down government decision-making by obliging ministers and senior public servants to first consult the voice.
Ultimately, the lead in the saddlebag of a successful referendum.
Why would you risk the journey that you have travelled on with us and with First Nations people?
I'm yet to see any actual suggestions from the opposition for change wordings.
Liberal MPs gather on Wednesday to discuss the voice. They'll likely demand changes to the wording to protect government from an obligation to consult the Indigenous body. Cabinet ministers have told the ABC the Prime Minister still wants bipartisanship and could be willing to negotiate if it helps the referendum's success. Andrew Probyn, ABC News.
So there you go. Do you think that what Liberal is proposing is okay? Because under the current wordings, it is deemed that every big decision will always have to be first referred to the voice. I mean, the voice is good, they must have a voice, but should that process be okay? That is something that will be debated on or decided on Wednesday when the Liberal Party room meets. Well, right now the government is also making a pledge to the Antarctic reforms after damning report has come out. Take a look at this report.
It's an icy and isolated experience for Australia's Antarctic expeditioners. It can bring out the best and worst of people. A report has probed the Antarctic Division to find out just how bad the worst is. Of respondents, 1 in 4 women experienced sexual harassment. Most happened on station, a smaller number on ships, in the office or online. Most didn't report it.
Women didn't even feel comfortable walking past the bar area. They felt uncomfortable returning to their accommodation, and they had to lock the door.
The review noted there have been steps taken to improve the culture, with mixed results. In 2021, the division brought in new rules to reduce alcohol consumption on station, citing women's safety.
A lot of women are pretty mad they were listed as the reason for strict alcohol limits, rather than calling out the bad behaviour of specific perpetrators.
Respondents told the independent review there's a top-down approach and a fear of speaking up.
Bullying in the Antarctic has physically put my life at risk. I'm not alone in this experience.
1 in 3 respondents had experienced bullying. Almost half had witnessed it. And again, most didn't report it.
There's a fear of rocking the boat and not being invited down south again.
The review has recommended a further culture shift, not just in Antarctica, but also here at the headquarters in Kingston. The department says it has accepted all findings of the review and acknowledges it must do significantly more in the AAD to make the workplace safer. Meg Whitfield, ABC News.
And that culture is toxic, as they mentioned, and it has been not only in the Antarctic. I think that might be true of many workplaces and many other big expeditions as well. On a similar topic, let's go to Sydney, where illegally smuggled plant and meat products have been seized.
They look like any ordinary shipping containers, but a random biosecurity check uncovered tons of products that were anything but ordinary.
Pretty brutally killed as well.
I think it just defies belief that anyone thinks that they can sneak in material like this into Australia, which is world renowned for having one of the best biosecurity systems in the world.
There were frogs, geese, turtles and even donkeys in the shipment that arrived at a Western Sydney warehouse in February. Authorities say 7 containers were packed with 116 plant and animal species bound for the black market.
There's clearly a demand, the products are here, but the investigation is yet to identify where those products were destined for.
The Minister says this breach could have been disastrous for farmers.
That if it hadn't been picked up, could have been a very serious risk to our agriculture sector here in Australia.
The chances of these products containing threatening diseases are high. White spot has already been found in the prawns here, and there are concerns foot and mouth disease and African swine flu could also be present.
The shipment will be tested and then destroyed.
It doesn't matter whether someone is just trying to bring in a McMuffin through an airport or a mass seizure like this, our biosecurity officers are on the job each and every day.
A number of warrants have been executed. Anyone convicted faces a fine of up to $1.3 million or 10 years in prison. Xanthi Gregory, ABC News.
That's a big fine, but I mean, look, people know these things are banned and they're not allowed, and they bring them by container loads. Wow. Well, one of the other things we're going to look at today is the National Archives, and just to let you know that Brisbane Indian Times has been electronically, sending archive material of our newspaper to the National Archives as well. Let's take a look inside how it all really works.
Since 2009, Trove's been making mammoth amounts of archive material, like this huge collection of newspapers, accessible at a keystroke.
Collections like ours only really come alive when people are using them. And what Trove does is to allow so many more people to bring those stories to life from our collections, not just those who can come to Canberra and walk into this lovely building.
Federal funding for the project was due to expire by July this year, but the government's now promised $33 million over 4 years for the National Library, along with an additional $9 million specifically for Trove.
I think it's probably very poor budgeting by previous governments that had it running out because it is such a national treasure. This funding will ensure that it goes on not just across the forward estimates but with certainty into the future.
The National Library is not the only institution that's been crying out for funds. Efficiency dividends and annual reduction in government funding are seen to be strangling the sector.
Museum objects and works of art don't get any better at looking after themselves. They don't get more efficient. Also, the building fabric of all of these institutions in Canberra is kind of part of their identity. So they can't just go and lease another building and still do their work.
I think if we get the funding problem sorted, then having an efficiency component to that, to drive that, productivity and efficiency is not a bad thing.
Sustaining these institutions, a focus for the coming budget. Harry Frost, ABC News, Canberra.
And so there you go. They say knowledge, is always at your fingertips. But how does it get to your fingertips? Someone has to do that hard work. It has been put in, even if it's on a database, it's available on web. Someone somewhere has taken the effort to put it on. So there's a lot of effort that actually goes in the background, and it's people often don't realize that all they want is just put in a search bar and type in whatever they're looking for, and off they go. But when you look at the amount of work that would have gone in, to maintain, upkeep, and upload all that information. Heads up to them. Ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to look at our upcoming functions and events. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, the up-to-date on Australian Indian Radio, and it's been wonderful having your company on this 4th day of the 4th month of 2023. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us. We will see you back there.